brace yourselves for an economic avalanche because a major credit crunch has already begun. Michael Snyder reports, this is moving even faster than a lot of us thought that it would. For weeks, I've been warning my readers about the coming credit crunch. When banks get into trouble, they start getting really tight with their money, and that means fewer mortgages, fewer commercial real estate loans, fewer auto loans, fewer credit cards being issued. But I thought it would take some time for the credit crunch to fully kick into high gear. Unfortunately, I was wrong about that. In fact, it's being reported that during the last 2 weeks of March, bank lending in the United States contracted by the most on record. U.S. bank lending contracted the most on record in the last 2 weeks of March, indicating a tightening of credit conditions in the wake of several high-profile bank collapses that risks damaging the economy. In other words, we have never seen bank lending shrink faster than it did during the second half of March. Wow. And it turns out that small banks are getting particularly tight with their money. Commercial bank lending dropped nearly $105 billion in the 2 weeks ending March 29, the most in Federal Reserve data back to 1973. The more than $45 billion decrease in the latest week was primarily due to a drop in loans by small banks. The pullback in total lending in the last half of March was broad and included fewer real estate loans, as well as commercial and industrial loans. As I've noted previously, small and mid-sized banks provide the bulk of the commercial real estate loans in this country. We're already starting to see prices of commercial real estate plunge, and now Morgan Stanley is warning that the drop that we will ultimately see could rival the decline during the 2008 financial crisis. Investors have sharpened their focus on this sector, giving regional banks significant share in CRE lending, even before the banking industry turmoil. However, CRE was facing risks from long-term trends, with remote work threatening the office subsector. What's more, the sector is now facing a huge refinancing wall. More than half of the $2.9 trillion in commercial mortgages will be up for refinancing in the next couple of years. Even if current rates stay where they are, new lending rates are likely to be 3.5 to 4.5 percentage points higher than they are for many of the CRE's existing mortgages. Commercial property prices have already turned down, and Morgan Stanley analysts forecast prices could fall as much as 40%, rivaling the decline during the 2008 financial crisis. These kinds of challenges can hurt not only the real estate industry, but also entire business communities related to it. A lot of people thought that I was exaggerating when I stated that we are heading into the worst commercial real estate crisis in our history, but I was not exaggerating one bit. Of course, the credit crunch that we are now experiencing will have enormous ramifications for the entire economy. When consumers have access to less credit, they spend less money. And when consumers spend less money, businesses bring in less revenue, and they start laying off workers, of course. And when workers get laid off, they get behind on their debts, and that creates even more stress on the banks. This new credit crisis threatens to spiral out of control, but Fed officials insist that everything is just fine. In fact, James Ballard seems convinced that interest rates should go even higher. Financial stress seems to be abated, at least for now, Ballard told reporters Thursday after speaking at an event in Little Rock, Arkansas. And so it's a good moment, he said, to continue to fight inflation and try to get on that disinflationary path. The St. Louis Fed chief said that he does not think tighter credit conditions stemming from the recent banking turmoil will be substantial enough to tip the U.S. economy into recession, noting that demand for loans is still strong. Demand for loans may be strong, but the supply of credit is starting to dry up really quickly. Meanwhile, Americans continue to pull money out of the banks at a staggering rate. Friday's report also showed commercial bank deposits dropped $64.7 billion in the latest week, marking the 10th straight decrease that mainly reflected a decline at large firms. Every week that this happens is just going to cause banks to get even tighter with their money. And bank economists surveyed by the American Bankers Association expect credit conditions to continue to tighten during the months ahead. The headline credit index fell in Q2 by 5.8 to 5.8, decreasing 6.7 points to its lowest point since the onset of the pandemic. The reading indicates broad-based expectations for weaker credit market conditions over the next 6 months among bank economists, and banks are likely to go more cautious about extending credit. The Consumer Credit Index fell 7.9 points to 5.8 in Q2. EAC members expect credit availability to deteriorate more than credit quality, though almost all expect both to decline. The sub-50 reading indicates that consumer credit conditions are likely to weaken over the next 6 months. The Business Credit Index fell 5.6 points to 5.8 in Q2. All EAC members expect business credit availability will deteriorate in the next 6 months, and most expect business credit quality to deteriorate. The sub-50 reading indicates that EAC members expect that overall credit conditions for businesses will continue to weaken over the next 2 quarters. Just look at those numbers. Any figure under 50 is bad, and those numbers are all in the single digits. In all the years that I've been writing, I've never seen anything like this. So I'm encouraging all of my readers to brace themselves for a massive economic avalanche. A major credit crunch is already here, but most Americans still don't understand that severe economic pain is dead ahead. This is by Michael Snyder, and he says about the author, my name is Michael, and my brand new book entitled End Times is now available on Amazon. In addition to my new book, I've written 6 other books that are available on Amazon, including 7-Year Apocalypse, Lost Prophecies of the Future of America, The Beginning of the End, and Living a Life That Really Matters. When you purchase any of these books, you help to support the work that I'm doing, and one way that you can really help is by sending copies as gifts to families and friends. Time is short, and I need help getting these warnings into the hands of as many people as possible. I've also started a brand new Substack newsletter, and I encourage you to subscribe to that so you don't miss any of the latest updates. I've published thousands of articles on the Economic Collapse blog, End of the American Dream, and the Most Important News, and the articles that I publish on those sites are republished by dozens of other prominent websites all over the globe. I always freely and happily allow others to republish my articles on their own websites, but I also ask that they include this about the author section with each article. The material contained in the article is for general information purposes only, and readers should consult licensed professionals before they make any legal, business, financial, or health decisions. I encourage you to follow me on social media, Facebook and Twitter, and any way that you can share these articles with others is definitely a great help. These are such troubled times and people need hope. John 3:16 tells us about the hope that God has given us through Jesus Christ. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in him should not perish but have everlasting life. If you have not already done so, I strongly urge you to invite Jesus Christ to be your Lord and Savior today. And this is on the Economic Collapse blog by Michael Snyder. Please leave your comments, and thank you for your support. Kindly support my Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support, and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box